No, I was asking you, and then Ben.
So my question is supposed to be because I first. You say in the Misinai part of the talk that if you believe that Torah is divine influence, it can be interpreted in an infinite number of ways. How does that match with Rabbi Sam's talk, which essentially says we can take part of our tradition, we can assume there's a single consistent position that we can understand, and then he goes up to Steve and says, actually, this is what it is.
Right, so let me go first because I think this ties into the question that was asked earlier to both of us when Rabbi Lopatin spoke. I don't want to say there is one okay Jewish view about what the Torah is. I was engaged in a project which was, can you draw a consistent picture out of all these disparate sources? And I think actually you can draw more than one. Each one's going to have its own internal problems that I was raising and saying, gosh, there's no ideologically pure choice here, which was my finding, and you're going to have to do everyone's going to have to do some uncomfortable wiggling, but I'm not saying which one's right. I'm saying, look, here are some choices. And what I saw from Rabbi Lopatin, and why I think what we're doing is not running away from one another, is Rabbi Lopatin is coming from a background where he was a pulpit rabbi for many years, and now involved in the education of pulpit rabbis. And the job is to create a community that's welcoming, open, serving Hashem. I am sitting in an ivory tower trying to figure out what sorts of things could these communities consistently be thinking. Oh, and there's a lot of them. And I think both jobs are important. I don't think they run afoul of one another. And in fact, I think the more open the communities can be and welcoming, the more liberating it is for the Jewish theologian, who can feel freer to really mine the latent possibilities that lie in our texts without the fear of heresy and whatever. So I think we can work in partnership.
And I agree. And I want to just modify that. There are things that are right and there are things that are false. There are truths and there are falsehoods. And it doesn't mean that it's not relativism. I believe there is a truth, but it's huge and Hashem is infinite. So there might be an infinite amount of truth, but there might be an infinite amount of falsehoods also. So it's just that we don't know. There are potentials, and we don't know always what that potential is. But definitely, Klape Shmayan, God knows that there's some things that are right and some things that are wrong.
Ben, do you want to ask a question?
I'm not particularly well defined when I'm talking about the areas. I want to bring psychological motivation into the theory and maybe refer to somebody who's definitely not on the edge of the Orthodox camp, which is people like Rabbi Ellen, who use arguments about mass revelation to motivate people to see halakha in a particular light. I reckon to have awe or fear of changing it because there was an interruption or rupture in the laws of nature at that moment. I was wondering if you have an account which kind of neutralizes it or naturalizes it, kind of it would be called just revelation as the epiphany, then it's something that we could connect to the Messiah, but a lot of the motivation, I think, for a lot of people is lost. And so it may be okay for a rabbi to justify it as being within the Orthodox denomination, but I think in the long term it has to be something that kind of sits well, that actually gives us a reason to get up every morning and go to Shacharit. And so I want you to reflect on whether or not you think Misinai should psychologically motivate obligation, and if so, how with a naturalist perspective.
My answer, as short as I could make it to that cool question and interesting question, it would probably be the following. So right now I feel very currently, using a word I defined yesterday, that we're standing on the precipice of the days of awe, and that God has the books of life and death open up before him, and I'm filled with fear and trepidation. almost makes me want to run away right now. And I don't get that because of Lawrence Kellerman's arguments. I get that because my Jewish engagement with mitzvahs and with Torah provides me with a sensation from time to time that there is something much bigger present in my life and guiding me and with my family and with our people and our communities. And it's inchoate and it's mystical and weird and I don't know what to make of it, but that's what powers me on, not any argument or syllogism. And the key question for me is, can we create a type of orthodoxy that's open to academia and penetrating insight, but doesn't lose that emunah pshuta? And I think as a community we're probably failing pretty systematically to do that. But I still don't think the answer is, believe in the historicity of a naive story. I can't believe that. And I think that we need to be much more creative in how do we, just like the question is, how do you train someone who's tone deaf to appreciate music? The question is, how do you train people who are theologically deaf to appreciate the music of religious experience? And that's the question we need to be thinking about, rather than creating either climates of fear or basing religious engagement upon straw men arguments and histories.
So beautiful. But inspire people. Yeah, get people inspired. Not whatever it takes, but whatever resonates with them. And I think the danger is that it'll break, when they find something that everything they believed in is challenged by something, that it'll break. But so I think we have to create sort of a climate where people know that different people are going to be inspired by different things, and it's going to be right. It might not be a historical fact. It might be just a feeling that you have. And emunah pshuta is beautiful. So definitely inspire people. But yeah, different people are going to be inspired by different things. And that's why I think really, rather than try to push away what inspires people, let's welcome what gets people inspired in the morning to get up. So I don't dismiss even like Aisha Torah's all their numbers games and all those things. If it brings people in, there's a value to that. And I guess the idea is that when they get to shul, they're inspired to get to shul in the morning. Then you have to give them the tefillah that's inspiring. You have to give them the things that really are part of our religion today. So whatever inspires them, but then really make sure the system is working.
Jonathan, thank you. I was a bit stunned because I really agree with your hashkafa openness and bringing people in, that you're putting so much emphasis, Rabbi Lopatin, on belief. Because my father taught me that orthodoxy is a misnomer, that we're really an orthopraxy, and you can believe that God looks like a tree or a man or nothing at all, and it's not really much talked about in Judaism. But the people who are thrown out as heretics are the ones who throw away the halakha, and I think historically that's probably true, but also it creates an openness and a connectivity between the different parts of Judaism if you use the halakha as your binding commonality. Whereas if you start focusing on belief, then you're constantly chucking people out because they believe the wrong thing, are you not?
I don't want to chuck people out for driving to shul on Shabbos and for keeping kosher in their home, but they don't keep kosher in their home, or they eat veggie treif out or something like that. I don't agree with it halachically, but I don't want to chuck people out. So I think in general the system, both for halacha and hashkafa, should be a welcoming system as people are welcoming people to grow and to struggle. I think actually something I heard from Rav Herzl Hefter, one of the Rebbe's of Rav Sam, is maybe not so much hashkafa, theology, philosophy, maybe a question of yirat shamayim, that this idea of yirat chet, fear of God, and again, awe of God, let's say, because we want to get away from fear, but this awe, reverence for Torah, and reverence for God, and that's what we really want to focus on. And in that sense, if Torah Misinai, Torah Min HaShamayim really gets you into that sense of awe, then I think it's critical. But both things, halacha and emunah, let's not throw people out, and let's be a doorway for people to come in.
Can I just get in on that, because I had something to say on that. Which is, yesterday a distinction was drawn. Rabbi Harris was the first to draw it between relativism and pluralism. So relativism, crudely put, could be the idea that there is just no meaningful way in which you can ever talk about things being absolutely true or false. Pluralism is where there's a range of somehow acceptable beliefs or paths, avenues, and I think one of the problems with orthopraxy, it was really nicely put by the rabbi, which is that we want people in our communities who don't even pass that test, people who drive to shul on Shabbat. But I think another problem with orthopraxy is it might be a good test for your smicha students. For instance, you can't be a rabbi if you're not at least striving to be halakhically observant. Fine. So it might be a good test, but it still doesn't define. It might be a good test for something, but that doesn't necessarily define what it's a test for. That's to say, if you don't, within this pluralistic framework, the rabbi might have one set of beliefs and I might have another set of beliefs, and our two distinct sets of beliefs are both sufficient for compelling us to halakhic observance, right? But if we had no beliefs, then why would we be observant? Surely even Yishai Leibovich, who is one of the thinkers most associated with orthopraxy, the notion of orthopraxy, had certain beliefs that motivated his orthopraxy and made sense of his orthopraxy. I don't think you can do away without beliefs with beliefs altogether, but we can give them a much narrower role to play, and that's where pluralism comes in. I don't really care what you believe, as long as whatever it is you believe is sufficient for generating yirat shamayim, yirat chet, a desire to want to engage with the halachic system, etc.
Okay, I'm conscious that there are more questions, but our time is out. So it falls on me to thank both of our speakers and for really, as was suggested.
Can you say a few words? We have 2 more minutes. We do have time. Can you say any reflections? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
If you want one reflection, I would say one name is relevant in this conversation that brings, I think, what the two of you have been saying together in some respect. I'm glad to say she's a woman, and it's Tamaros. You can't talk about primordial Torah and the notion of Chidushei Torah without thinking about this notion of cumulative revelation, and the notion of a relationship between a primordial Torah, which actually precisely provides the basis for constructing an account of the flexibility that can and should exist within Torah for reinterpreting, and I think that's what I would take out from what the two of you have said together, to draw them together and offer as a way into our Yom Narayim, I think. But as I say, firstly, a great thank you to our speakers, to everyone who's been involved, but above all else, to embarrass him once again. And he deserves it because he's really put in so much effort. To David Cheek.
So beautiful.